to you.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Now every year his parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up as usual for the festival. When the festival was ended and they started to return, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it. Assuming that he was in a group of travelers, they went a day's journey. Then they started to look for him among their relatives and friends. When they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem to search for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished, and his mother said to him, "Child, why have you treated us like this? Look, your father and I have been searching for you in great anxiety." He said to them, "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's house, busy with my father's affairs?" But they did not understand what he said to them. Then he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. His mother treasured all these things in her heart, and Jesus increased in wisdom and in years and in divine and human favor. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise the Lord Jesus Christ.
My sisters, another very familiar passage to all of us. And we have chosen this gospel passage for the first day of our retreat because this can very well symbolize our own life journey. And we can pick up some guidelines how to travel this journey. Jesus and his parents were on their journey to Jerusalem, and we too are constantly on our way to the heavenly Jerusalem, our eternal destiny. And if we want to arrive at that destiny, how should we traverse this journey? This short journey of our retreat and a little longer journey of our consecrated life. So we shall pick up quickly some of these pointers on which you can continue to reflect. The first thing, missing Jesus. They missed Jesus. What about us? Do we miss him? I do not know about you. Surely I miss him. Of course, you can say to somebody, "I miss you," only when you love that person so much, even though now it has become a style. Any fellow whom we may not even know properly, whom we may not like or love also, I miss him. And then afterwards, really miss him. So first of all, do we feel that we miss Jesus? Do I really feel, and can I tell the Lord, I miss you, Lord? We tell different persons, good, but how many of us really, with the feeling, with honesty, with depth, can say, I miss you? And then connected to it, do I realize that I miss the Lord? Do I realize that I miss the Spirit of Jesus, the experience of Jesus, the intimacy of Jesus, the values of Jesus, the mission of Jesus? Do I realize? Time and again I am losing His Spirit, His experience, His closeness, His communion, commitment, loyalty to Him. Alas, my sister, missing and losing Jesus is one thing, and not realizing that we are losing is another thing. And today, very sad it is, many certainly lose the spirit and values of Jesus, and they are not, either they are not aware of it, or they are not bothered about it. Some are not bothered. It's okay. So, how much I really am conscious of missing the spirit, the experience, and the values of Jesus. And then another, when we realize what to feel sad and then remain quiet, the parents of Jesus, as soon as they realized the miss of Jesus, they began to search for Him. So that is what we are called to do. As humans we are, as weak and imperfect we are, at times all of us may lose Jesus. But do I immediately set out in search of Him? Do I have this spirit of searching to regain what is lost? To regain what is lost. And how often, my sisters, what is lost continues to be a loss. And how many just do not bother to regain, to recuperate our lost energies, to get back our lost spirit. Search. We are to be eternal seekers. Our whole life is a ceaseless search, and that's why rightly philosopher is our handbook and calendar says a true philosopher is a seeker of truth, and a true theologian is a true lover of truth. And of course, I told the brothers very clearly, none of us is a philosopher or a theologian. I told them, you you may call yourselves, and then technically we may call philosophers, theologians, but then I said, there is no philosopher here, no theologian. Just because we have some knowledge, just because we study some subjects or teach some subjects, I said all of us are philosophy students, theology students, that's all. Because we are perpetual seekers and lovers. While men of today search for so many things, how many really search for God and for good? How many really search for values and principles? How many really search for truth? As long as I side with falsities and lies, I am not searching for truth. And then another pointer and lesson. They searched for him, but how they searched? How they searched? Don't tell me. Okay, you can search sitting, you can search kneeling, you can search sleeping. I am not speaking of the positions and the postures. The spirit of searching. They searched for him. That's what Mary tells. Your Father and I have been searching for you in great anxiety. This is what called my sister a positive tension, a positive anxiety. And today, tension has become a catchword for the modern society. You find everywhere tension, tension. And some people have tension about their tensions. Tension about the tension. So much tension. Tension about various things. And how much we really feel tense about God, about His experience, about His kingdom, about fidelity to His mission. And what is this positive anxiety or tension? Psalm 42, we know the psalmist. He says very clearly, exclaiming, like the deer that yearns for the running streams. And that is what the burning desire, and that is the craving, that is the longing for God. Like the deer that yearns for the running streams, like the barren land that awaits the drops of water, so also our heart must be in that anxiety and tension for God. It is the anxiety and the tension that makes Mary await at Annunciation as the angel announces. That is the positive tension. What is God's will? What is God's plan? And again, it is the positive tension with which they go on searching for a birthplace for Jesus, meeting everywhere a no and tensed. How is it that the King of the whole universe does not find even a little place? And it is the positive tension as they flee to Egypt to escape from the cruel hands of Herod, not being sure what is going to happen. It is again a positive tension now at the age of 12. Missing him, not finding him, their only son. It is again the positive tension of that adulterous woman as she awaits a judgment from the mouth of Jesus. And then when Jesus pronounces, let anyone who has no sin cast the first stone. And I too will not punish you, go home and sin no more. And it is again that positive tension of that sinful woman falling at the feet of Jesus, wetting his feet with her tears, wiping his feet with her hair, and awaiting that life-changing words of Jesus. Woman, go home, live a new life. She has loved more, and therefore her many sins are forgiven. It is again that positive tension with which Mary Magdalene goes on searching at the tomb of Jesus. They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have placed. And it is again the positive tension of the two disciples on the way to Emmaus. My sister, you and I today, when we experience a little bit of this positive tension and anxiety, the great Ramakrishna Paramahamsa remarks, once the men and women of today, they are tensed and they shed buckets of tears for various things, for cars, for bungalows, for money, for power, for position, for prestige, for privilege, for popularity, for name, for fame. So many things of this world, people shed tears and they feel so much tense and anxious. And he questions, how many today can really shed a little tear for God and for good? How many really feel sad and pained? Oh, I have lost my Jesus. I have failed in my loyalty. I am not faithful to what he has expected from me. How many hearts feel wounded and pained for the sake of God and for the sake of good? And another point, the search for him, but where you search, that is also important. Many people lose that sense of Jesus, they lose that meaning of life, satisfaction of life, happiness of life, fulfillment of life. We will reflect in course of our retreat. It is remarked today a great many religious have no job satisfaction. They live their life, but they are not satisfied and happy. And it is also said few years back, 3-4 years back, now the percentage can be more. And it is something very, very shocking and very saddening. It is said, if only some kind of security is assured in the society, it is said 46% of the religious, especially women religious, will live and go. If only some guarantees are there, some security is there. Which means many are not happy in their life. And that is why? Because they are searching for meaning and happiness in the wrong things. They did not find Jesus. Where did they search? Some are searching directly. Understand? As the lunch time is approaching, people are searching for him directly in their mystical experience. This where words do not matter. It is total silence. Where they see Jacob's ladder and then they see angels ascending and descending. Now they descend. So where did they search for him? Am I speaking something? Am I speaking or am I imagining that I am speaking? Where did they search? Don't ask me who are they. They searched for him on the way and among their friends and relatives. Simple. Thank you for agreeing. And these things can imply two things, my sisters. The first thing, searching on the way indicates searching for happiness and satisfaction in the ways of the world, in the things of the world, in the false values and standards of the world. And that is what today many are searching. Many are searching their fulfillment and happiness in the ways, in the things, in the standards, in the false values of the world. You can never find happiness and satisfaction. And that is why the author of Ecclesiastes, what is this strange material? The book of Kohelet. The book of Kohelet. What is this Kohelet? Is it some eatable material? Rasagolla? What is this material? Kohelet? I shall not trouble you. You are peaceful. The author of Kohelet and Ecclesiastes both say no. I used to tell brothers, don't multiply the number of books. Already we are struggling with what is there. Kohelet, Ecclesiastes. And brothers, philosophy brothers come to me for little practice, and sometimes very, very interesting fellows. Sometimes I wonder whether they are taking practice or whether they are giving me practice. And sometimes you cannot laugh also freely the way they say, pronounce some things. And I still remember in the context of Ecclesiastes. So one fellow I corrected, some got a little difficult. So I corrected 7-8 times. Ecclesiastes, 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 Ecclesiastes. Then after 8 times the fellow says, Father, I got it. I will pronounce it. Yes, very good. I was happy. Ecclesiastes. So, the author very clearly tells us the fundamental truth of our human earthly life. You remember very well when I say it. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. And he remarks there, you are searching for happiness, for satisfaction of life in the things of the world, in useless, worthless, selfish pursuits of the world. It is like, he says, it is like chasing after the wind. Chasing after the wind. And that is what today you find outside world and the religious life also is no different. The dioceses and the congregations, you find very many searching for the meaning, for the happiness, for the fulfillment of life in vain things, in secondary things, in worthless things. And it is exactly like chasing after the wind. You chase after the wind, you try to get it into your grip. Can you hold the wind in your grip? And that is what it's all. The more we chase after these worthless things, secondary things, the more we will be dissatisfied and frustrated and unfulfilled. And that is what, my sisters, as I said today, very sad, you find many bishops, many priests, many religious so frustrated, so unfulfilled. And that is why so many problems in our communities, so many problems in our ministry places, because of this inner dissatisfaction and frustration. So, I am troubled, I am disturbed, I am agitated so much, and somehow I have to release it. And these are the various ventilations, releases. So, do I also search for the Lord and for the meaning and satisfaction in the ways of the world? And then the second, they searched for Him among their friends and relatives. Did they find Him? So, which means, if you are searching for Jesus and for happiness in friends, in friendships, in relationships, it is useless. Does it mean that way? You are with me, sisters? I feel pity when I look at some faces. It's like so docile. Okay, Father, you say whatever you want. Little more Spirit, to listen to the Spirit. So, what does this mean? This refers, my sisters, to unhealthy, harmful, deviated friendships and relationships. And this is another very sad thing and very harmful thing today that is happening among the priests and the religious. Many are seeking happiness and satisfaction in the unhealthy, wrong, harmful, deviated friendships and relationships. And that's why every now and then you hear about undue attachments or illicit relationships, scandals. While friendships and relationships are very, very important, they are very important because I believe one who has no friends, one who is not a good friend, can never be happy, can never be holy. This I am convinced. And Jesus Himself was a great friend to many. So the whole problem is what kind of friendships? That is what we shall reflect later on. But in the context, this is what? Very clear. As long as I search for happiness and satisfaction in the wrong, ill-placed or wrong place, unhealthy friendships and relationships, which many of the priests and some of the religious also fall into. And they think that they are happy, but then you see, they become more and more unhappy. unhealthy and harmful. What I mean, any friendship, any relationship that makes me less human, less religious, less loyal, less committed, less passionate is not a right friendship. Our friendship should make both of us better human persons, better religious, more loving persons, more enthusiastic persons, more energetic. With the happiness that you give me as a friend, I can live my life better. With the happiness which I give to you, you can live your life better. That is what a healthy and beneficial friendship. But today, very sad, we shall reflect a little more at length. Today I say at least 60-70% of the friendships are nonsense friendships. Nonsense. Worthless. Do not help our life. Do not help our mission. I say this very frankly, even though I am liked, loved, appreciated by hundreds. That's what the difference is, what is the quality of our friendships. That is another reminder and caution for all of us. And then, where do they find him? Those who are still in the chapel can answer, because some have already ascended to the heavenly court. That I do not ask them. Where? In the temple. And that is what can be an indicator for all of us. And that is what I appreciate you. In the chapel, you are trying to find the Lord. So, in the temple, meaning in the moments of prayer, in the moments of intimacy with the Lord. So, this is again a pointer to all of us, my sisters, especially to those who are engaged with bundles of activities, and especially in the case of those who try to substitute God experience prayer with various activities, and especially for them, this can be a strong pointer and reminder, my dear. Ultimately and primarily, we need to find the Lord in personal moments of sitting at His feet. We shall reflect again later on. As I said, first today I tried to present a comprehensive picture. So, this is what we need to be very, very clear. All great works, all good works, are marvelous works, very good, but then nothing can substitute prayer. One who loses his or her love for prayer will lose everything sooner or later. And okay, how we see in the temple, sleeping gloriously, listening to others. So he was with others in a spirit of dialogue, in a spirit of sharing, in a spirit of interaction, in a spirit of interpersonal involvement. And that can also indicate to us something of our community and the spirit of communion. Religious life is essentially a community life, we say. And what community without communion? why our communities become places of unhappiness? Because there is no communion. When there is no spiritual communion, when there is no fraternal communion, there cannot be any joy in the religious life. And that is what I always say. This has to be one essential criterion and ingredient for any assessment. Is a person, am I a community man, a community woman? Am I a person who is able to live with others and for others? We shall reflect in the context of community life later on, and then, okay, and with the next point I stop there. Mary meets Jesus, and then she asks him, "Son, why did you do this to us? Your father and I have been searching for you anxiously." And what was Jesus' response?
Do you know I am with my Father?
I put the question, I want to tell the answer because you are so soft and mild. So, in the text it is there, "Do you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" But then original text also says, as I added it, "Do you not know that I must be busy with my Father's affairs?" So, I shall reflect a little and I stop with that. Just to take that expression, busy. This is what I love to share everywhere, even sometimes repeat. Because I believe good things are worth repeating. Though many believe negative things are worth spreading. It's what criticisms, gossips, people are never tired of saying hundreds of times also. But then good things, and how many times you will tell, man? You come and appreciate someone. Sister Anima is very nice. Sister Pushpa is very understanding. How many times you will tell, we don't know, but speak something else, something else which is interesting. Then you start saying, that one you know what she did. This is like, tell something more. I'm saying about outsiders, others. So busy. Today, my sisters, this has become one slogan, the modern mantra. Busy. You ask any fellow, every fellow will tell you, I am busy. That is one thing which I personally hate. And that's why, of course, practically we need to use that expression because you have so many things to do and there is perhaps no other way than to tell I am busy with so many things. But I prefer to say, okay, I have some things to do, and normally I try to avoid that word because the simple reason, my sister, is that does not make sense for me. Because I ask you, tell me, who is not busy? One who is sleeping is busy with sleeping. One who is eating is busy with eating. One who is doing nonsense is busy with nonsense. Who is not busy? Everyone is busy. And that is why the question whether one is busy or not is not important or sensible. because everyone is busy in his own way. But the vital point, the real issue is with what I am busy and for what I am busy. And this is what can make a vital difference in our life. With what I am busy and for what I am busy, and in the light of the gospel, Jesus was busy with the Father's affairs, and to put it in a simple, blunt way, today am I busy with my Father's affairs or with my grandfather's affairs? Grandfather, meaning all selfish or worthless works. And my sister, if only we are little sincere and analyze, we will wonder, a great part of our time, a great portion of our talents, our energies, our various resources, we spend on things which are secondary or which are worthless. And that's what, for example, see, when the elections are approaching, outside okay, inside also, 6 months onwards, 1 year onwards, people start preparations. I'm not speaking about paperwork or sending for the reflections, not those things. Ground preparation. So, the time, the energies, the money, the talents, all these things, for father's affairs or for the grandfather's affairs. With what I am busy, for what I am busy.